Meet Esmeralda Santiago, born May 17, 1948, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Daughter of Ramona Santiago and Pablo Santiago Diaz. Later married to Frank Cantor in 1978. She has one son by the name of David Lucas. During her early life, her family moved from the city to the countryside and vice versa in Puerto Rico. During those times, Esmeralda Santiago and her family dealt with poverty. Being the oldest of 11 children may have had an impact on Esmeralda Santiago's desire to write. She not only became a surrogate mother to younger children, but also the assistant and translator in the future for her mother in her new English-speaking society in New York. Santiago greeted each experience with eyes wide open, examining everything and putting it into memory. Esmeralda told the Los Angeles Times, "Being a writer is like being a collector. Instead of baseball cards, I collect memories, colors, and I carry my collection everywhere I go." Esmeralda Santiago has made many difficult journeys. She moved back and forth from rural to city barrios in Puerto Rico and from the island to New York. From a childhood in poverty to degrees from Harvard and Sarah Lawrence universities. When her single mother uprooted the 13-year-old and some of her many siblings, eventually there were 11. From the island in 1961 for its new life in New York City. Santiago longed to understand where she truly belonged. After moving to New York in 1961, she was accepted to New York's very competitive High School of Performing Arts. An amazing accomplishment for someone who did not know the language when she arrived in the city a few years earlier. After high school, she spent 8 years at community colleges, studying part-time while working full-time in various jobs until she transferred to Harvard University. As a student at Harvard, she received a full scholarship and graduated in 1976. Years later, she enrolled at Sarah Lawrence College. She received a Master of Fine Arts in Fiction in 1992. Santiago's writing career evolved from her experience as a producer and writing of documentaries films. In 1976, Santiago and her husband, Frank Cantor, founded Canto Media, a film and production company that has won many awards in documentary filmmaking. However, it was through her work as a writer after 1993 that Santiago became a national public figure. Reviews of her work started appearing in publications such as the New York Times, the Washington Post Book, and the Chicago Tribune. Her essays have also appeared in national publications, including the New York Times Magazine, the Boston Globe, and the Christian Science Monitor. In addition to her literary undertakings, Santiago is active in social work. She is the founder of a shelter for battered women and their children, has also worked on developing community-based programs. She has appeared on national television and has been a speaker for many universities and institutions. Some of the books that Esmeralda Santiago has written include When I Was Puerto Rican, Turkish Lover, Almost a Woman, Conquistadora, America's Dream, Las Mamis, Las Christmas, A Doll for Navidades. The book that I'm going to concentrate in this study is When I Was Puerto Rican. Reason being that this is a book that basically tells the story of many immigrants that come to this country. When I was Puerto Rican, Santiago fluctuates between the past and the present tense. Through the use of rhetorical figures, she reconstructs her previous life on the island. The main character and narrator is referred to as Negi, which is like a short abbreviation for Negrita, which means dark. The nickname Santiago family had for her, and Negi becomes Santiago's alter ego. There are 15 chapters, including the prologue, all titled with the meaningful and revealing full phrase about chapter focus. 3 of the 14 titles are in Spanish, one being Jibara, which is a female from rural Puerto Rico, El Mangle, the name of a neighborhood in Puerto Rico, and Casi Señorita, which means young woman, which carries connotation of coming of age or the moment when she will get her period, basically. When I Was Puerto Rican, an autobiography tells the story of Esmeralda Santiago, a Puerto Rican girl from a large family who moved to New York City in the 1980s. And despite struggling to adjust to a new home and culture, ultimately flourishes. The reason that this book is a very, very valuable piece is that, like I said before, it resembles the lives of many immigrants that come to this country, but it also shows how someone could become and accomplish so much by coming from another country. In New York, she lives with her mother, Ramona, father, Pablo, and 2 younger sisters. The family lives in Macon, Puerto Rico, in a house that is made of thin, crawling with termites, which resembles the poverty that we talked about earlier. Ramona gives birth to a son, Hector, and Paulo is increasing absence from the house. Ramona suspects her is having an affair, and the two fight often, something that goes very often in families. But one day Esmeralda returns home from school to find house packed up and father nowhere to be seen. Her mother announces they are moving to the city. This is one of the many moves that Esmeralda had in her life as a child, moving from rural areas to Puerto Rico, to the city, and then when she comes to this big city, New York, she's faced with a lot of challenges. Many challenges that many immigrants face when they come to this country. But she proves, like I said earlier, that she could not only succeed, but succeed by going to one of the best schools in the country. Some of the activities that I have in mind for my class is, first of all, know who you are. And by knowing who you are, we could start by the story of our name. What's in the name that we have? So I would ask every student in my class to do some research on your name. Where their name comes from, what it means. Does it come basically from any background, ethnic background? I will pair the students in pairs of two, and then ask each person to introduce his partner to the larger group and to explain what his or her name means and where it comes from. The second activity that I will have is basically my family heritage interview, which I will have each student interview someone in your family. It's better if it's your father, your mother, or it could be someone that you know in your family. You will have to introduce this person in the class and tell us a little bit more about the person. Some of the questions that the students could ask their family is, what memories do you have of your mother during your childhood? What memories do you have of your country if you weren't in the United States in your childhood? More about how you got here. How did your impact had in your life when you got here? How old were you when you got here? How has your life changed when you got here? And more detailed questions about your heritage, your ethnic traditions. What old-time values and customs do you think should be kept or honored? What did you learn from your parents and from your experience that you would like to hand down to your people today, to your son? Describe foods common to your ethnic group. What advice do you give to young people nowadays? Once you get all this information from the person you're interviewing in your family, your culminating activity will be to present this to the class. And after presenting to the class, kind of ask yourself who you are. Do you think you've changed? What do you consider yourself? What nationality? Because this is something that the book really tells us from Esmeralda Santiago. When I was Puerto Rican, clearly states that she felt that when she got here, she changed a lot of those roots. And even when she went back to Puerto Rico, she basically, the friends didn't think she was Puerto Rican anymore because the way she dressed, the things she ate, and it's something that bothered her and still bothers her today. So that will be my culminating activity for the students. And at the end, I will leave you with a quote from Esmeralda Santiago, which states, the cultural identity of Puerto Ricans as shaped by geographical circumstances, including their experiences migrating to the United States and the struggles to survive in the society of the colonizer and coming age in the midst of such cultural change. This quote has such a strong impact in every immigrant that comes to this country. Thank you.